My wife secretly rebuilt her life without me and left me with a stranger's child. I used to think marriage was about building a future together. Turns out mine was busy building her own without me. We were married for 6 years. Her name's Alina. Everyone thought she was the quiet one. Polite, professional, well-spoken. The type who sent thank you notes for every dinner party and corrected her posture in photos. We met at a marketing conference in DC. She was a copywriter. I was a software guy. I was never the social type, but she had this way of making silence feel like intimacy instead of awkwardness. When she looked at you, it was with her whole face, like you mattered. I thought she saw me. I was wrong. I proposed after 13 months. Nothing extravagant, just a candlelit dinner in the apartment we just leased together. She said yes. Cried even. We had a modest wedding. She didn't want anything flashy. I just want it to be about us, she said. She always said that, just us. I look back now and realize how isolating that phrase was. She didn't like my parents. Too loud, too critical. She said they didn't respect boundaries. So I stopped inviting them. She didn't like my college friends. Too immature. Always joking around, too much drinking. So I stopped seeing them too. Eventually, it was just us. At first, I thought it was romantic. We did everything together. Grocery runs. Sunday walks. Friday night movies. But over time, I realized how small my world had become. Still, I didn't question it. Because she loved me. Right? Things started to shift the year I turned 33. She started getting distant. Not all at once, just little things. No more morning coffee together. She said she wanted to start her days alone. Her smiles got thinner. Sex became a chore. Our conversations turned into logistics. At first, I thought she was just tired. She said work was draining her. So I offered to take on more housework. I started making her dinner every night, trying to reignite what we had. She always said thank you, but the warmth was gone. Then came the business trips. She started flying out more often. Always last minute. Always for a client crisis. I believed her. Because that's what trust looks like, right? But one night, something weird happened. She left her laptop open while she was in the shower. I wasn't snooping, I swear to God I wasn't. But a Slack notification popped up. It was a message from someone named M. M, I miss you already. The bed's cold without you. I stared at the message. My throat went dry. When she came out of the bathroom, I just looked at her. She looked back, and for a second, I thought I saw something flicker in her expression. But she smiled and asked if I wanted tea. I didn't ask her about the message. I don't know why. Maybe I was scared of confirming it. Maybe I was still hoping it was something innocent. Maybe I just wasn't ready. I should have been. 3 months later, she told me she was pregnant. I'd always wanted to be a father. We talked about it during year 2 of our marriage. She said she wasn't ready. Said maybe in a few years. But now here she was glowing. And yet I didn't feel anything. No excitement. Just confusion. Because she didn't want me touching her anymore. Said it made her nauseous. That it wasn't personal. I told myself it was hormones. That she was just tired. But then, in a moment of weakness, I opened her email. It was all there. She had an entire digital life. A joint Dropbox folder with another man. A folder labeled Chicago. Photos of them in hotel rooms, at restaurants, in bed. Selfies with her head on his chest, smiling in ways I hadn't seen in years. They had been together for over a year. He knew about me. Called me the ghost. He still doesn't know? Jesus, babe. How long are you going to keep playing house? I'm almost out, she replied. Just have to get through the baby. Then I can leave with everything clean. I vomited. Not metaphorically. Literally. Right there, in front of her laptop. I didn't confront her right away. Again, I don't know why. I think part of me was waiting, watching, trying to catch her in the act. But she was perfect at pretending. She'd kiss my cheek, tell me to rest, say she couldn't wait to raise our family. Our family. I started keeping a record. Backing up emails. Screenshots. I hired a lawyer. Quietly. I didn't want to fight, I just wanted a plan. Something to protect myself. Then one night, she woke me up crying. Her hands were on her belly. She said she felt pain. She was shaking. I rushed her to the hospital. She was fine. So was the baby. But something about the ultrasound technician's look lingered in my mind. He said, based on measurements, you're further along than 7 months. Closer to 8.5. And Alina just smiled and said I must have messed up my calendar. But I knew. The math didn't add up. The baby wasn't mine. After that ultrasound appointment, everything unraveled in my head. It wasn't just suspicion anymore. It was clarity, cold and ugly. That child in her belly wasn't mine. And worse, she knew it. She'd known the whole time and still let me paint the baby's room, still let me build the crib with my hands, still let me hold her stomach at night like it meant something. She was never going to tell me. She would have let me sign that birth certificate, raise that child as mine, and spend the rest of my life in a lie. It felt like being buried alive. But I stayed calm. I didn't scream. I didn't accuse. I went quiet. And I planned. She had her baby shower 2 weeks later. At our house, I paid for everything. Her family came down from Vermont. Her mother hugged me and called me the world's most patient husband. If only she knew. During the shower, Alina was glowing in this pale green dress. You'd think she was the Virgin Mary the way everyone adored her. But I watched her from the hallway like a stranger. I didn't feel like a husband anymore. I felt like an actor in the wrong movie. Like I was watching someone else live my life. The night after the shower, she fell asleep early. I waited until 2 a.m. and then went into the basement where I'd set up a second laptop, encrypted, untraceable. I gathered every digital breadcrumb. Emails, photo metadata, hotel confirmations. I also found something else, an email draft. Never sent, but saved. It read, "Once the paperwork's finalized and he's on the birth certificate, I'll file for spousal support. He makes more than enough. He'll cave. He always caves." I didn't sleep that night. The baby came 5 weeks later. A boy. She named him Milo without even asking me. Just filled it out on the hospital form. I held him once. He had dark green eyes. Mine are brown. Hers are hazel. But Milo's eyes were the exact same color as the man from the photos. I didn't need a test. I knew. But I took one anyway. Quietly. Swabbed my own mouth and the baby's when she was asleep. Sent it to a private lab. Paid extra for a rush result. 3 days later, 0% probability of paternity. I didn't cry. I just stared at the paper. This wasn't heartbreak. This was something colder. Sharper. Like someone had slit open the reality I thought I lived in and revealed the rot underneath. But I still didn't confront her. Not yet. You might think I was weak for that. Maybe I was. Or maybe I wanted to see just how far she would take it. If she'd look me in the eye and still call me daddy. And she did. Every time I held the baby bottle or changed a diaper or woke up for 3 a.m. feedings, she'd lean over and say things like, "You're going to be such a great dad." I felt nothing. 2 weeks later, I filed for divorce. Quietly. Strategically. I made sure she was served while she was out getting groceries. She came home with oat milk and diapers and found the papers on the kitchen counter. At first, she laughed. Said it was a joke. Said I was being dramatic. I said nothing. Then she read through them. Saw the attached paternity test. That's when the color drained from her face. She sat down slowly and whispered, "How long have you known?" I said, "Long enough to stop loving you." She cried. Said it was complicated. That she never planned for it to happen this way. That she still wanted me to be in Milo's life. I laughed in her face. "You want me to raise another man's child while you treat me like an ATM and an emotional support animal?" I said, "No. You don't get to rewrite this into some modern family fantasy. The custody battle wasn't a battle at all. I wasn't the father. I had no rights. And honestly, I didn't want any." She begged, pleaded, threatened, said she'd tell people I abandoned a child. I showed her the paternity report again. She said it didn't matter, that I'd acted like the father, so I should stay. I told her she should have considered that before she got pregnant by a man who left her the moment the baby was born. Because that's the twist, the other guy? He ghosted her. I found out through a mutual friend. He'd moved to another state, blocked her on everything. She never saw it coming. Turns out she wasn't the only one capable of deception. I moved out 6 days after the divorce was finalized. Left her the apartment, the furniture, even the crib. I didn't want any of it. But before I left, I did one last thing. I mailed her family copies of the paternity test. Every aunt, cousin, and in-law who toasted her at that baby shower. I didn't write anything with it. Just the facts. Let them draw their own conclusions. People ask if I regret it, if I miss her, if I wonder how Milo is doing. And I say this. I regret trusting someone who weaponized love to destroy my life. I miss the version of her that never existed. And I think Milo will grow up just fine as long as she learns to stop lying. But that's not my problem anymore. It's been just over 2 years since the divorce. Sometimes I wake up and for half a second I forget she ever existed. Those are the good mornings. Then I feel the scar tissue in my chest, emotional, not physical, and I remember, I used to love someone who looked me dead in the eye every day and lied. That changes you. Not in some poetic I grew stronger kind of way. It changes you like rot changes wood. Quiet. Slow. Permanent. I moved to a smaller city. Found a 2-bedroom apartment above a cafe. The landlord's a retired plumber who only talks in dad jokes. It's peaceful. I work remote now. Finance consulting. I keep my camera off during calls. I don't talk much in meetings, but the check's clear and the silence is clean. Some days I think I've healed. Other days I scroll through social media and see people posting their kids' first steps or birthday cakes shaped like dinosaurs and wonder what kind of father I might have been. But I remind myself that wasn't my son. That wasn't my life. It was a life someone tried to trick me into living. Alina reached out twice after the divorce. The first was through email. She said she was sorry. Said she missed our partnership. Not our love, our partnership. Like we ran a business that failed. She wrote, "Milo asks about you sometimes. He remembers your voice. He was 7 months old when I left. He couldn't remember anything. It was just another manipulation." The second message came a year later. A handwritten letter delivered by certified mail. She wrote that she'd started therapy. That she understood now why she lied. That she had abandonment issues from her father. That what she did wasn't about me, it was about her own fear of being alone. She ended with, "I don't expect forgiveness, but I would like closure. A coffee. A conversation. One human to another." I burned the letter in a ceramic bowl on my balcony. Closure is a myth peddled by people who want another chance to twist the knife. You might expect me to say I've moved on, that I'm dating again, that I found someone better. But the truth is more complicated. I've tried dating. I've gone on app dates where the conversation is stiff and scripted. I've sat across from women who talk about their exes the entire time or who get visibly uncomfortable when I mention the word divorce. Once I told a woman the whole story, just laid it bare. She nodded and said, "Wow, that's a lot. You should probably talk to someone." I told her I was. She said, "No, I mean someone other than your dates." I paid the bill. Left before dessert. Some nights I lie awake thinking about alternate timelines. What if I confronted her sooner? What if I'd never met her? What if Milo had been mine? Then I stop myself. That way lies madness. There's no clean alternate version of this story where I'm happy and whole and nothing bad ever happened. There's only the one I'm living now. Sometimes I imagine Milo at 3 or 4 asking questions. "Where's Daddy? Why doesn't he visit?" I don't know what she tells him. Maybe that I died. Maybe that I was a mistake. Maybe she just lies the way she always did, with ease and tears in equal measure. But deep down I know this. I'm not his father. I'm a ghost she tried to make real. And when a house is built on a grave, it's going to haunt someone. Last week, I saw someone who looked exactly like her. I was at the grocery store comparing soup cans like some generic rom-com protagonist, and I looked up and there she was. Hair the same color. Same walk. Same kind of long beige coat she used to wear when she wanted to look expensive. My body froze. For one long second, I couldn't breathe. Then she turned around and it wasn't her. But the moment lingered. I left my basket in the aisle and walked out. Not because I was afraid of her, but because I was afraid of what I'd say if it had been her. Some scars don't scab. They don't heal. They just become part of the architecture of who you are. I don't think I'll ever fully trust again. Not in the innocent, stupid, wide-eyed way I used to. And that's not me being bitter. It's just reality. You can't get hit by a train and walk like you used to. You adjust to the limp. You build a new rhythm. And sometimes that's enough. I don't talk about her much anymore. People assume I'm divorced and childless because I chose that path. And in a way, I did. I chose not to raise a child that wasn't mine, built on a marriage that was a lie. I chose not to stay with someone who saw my kindness as an opportunity. And I chose not to forget. Because forgetting is how people like her get away with it. People want neat endings. They want me to say I found someone new. That I forgave her. That I co-parent now. That everything tied up in a bow. But some stories don't end that way. Some stories end like this. Alone, but finally free. And if that's all I get, it's still better than being loved by someone who never truly saw me.